A horse saved an injured Apache woman. What was born afterward changed two destinies. The sun had barely risen over the rugged desert landscape when Nayeli woke, feeling the sharp ache in her ankle. She had been traveling alone for days, hunting and gathering, as was the custom in her Apache community. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, a mixture of golden sand, jagged rocks, and towering cacti that seemed to reach for the sky. The wind whispered softly through the canyons, carrying with it the scent of sage and the faint, distant sound of rushing water. Yet, despite the beauty around her, Nayeli felt fear creeping into her heart. She had slipped on a loose rock while climbing a narrow canyon path and had fallen badly. Her ankle throbbed painfully, making it almost impossible to walk. At first, she had tried to push forward. The Apache people were taught to endure pain and to keep moving no matter the obstacle. She had wrapped her ankle as best she could with strips of cloth torn from her clothing, hoping that would be enough. But with each step, the pain intensified, and the desert, once familiar, now seemed like an endless maze. She realized she was lost. The canyon walls that had looked like friends in the morning now loomed menacingly over her. Shadows stretched long and dark across the rocky floor, and the temperature began to rise as the sun climbed higher into the sky. Nayeli tried to stay calm, repeating the lessons her grandmother had taught her. When the desert challenges you, listen to it. Respect it and it will guide you. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, feeling the rhythm of the wind and the subtle shifts of the sand beneath her fingers. She wished she could feel the comfort of her village, the smell of the cooking fires and the warmth of her family's presence. But she was alone, and the desert demanded she find her own way. Hours passed, and the pain in her ankle grew sharper. Her stomach rumbled with hunger, and the small water pouch she had carried was now nearly empty. She tried to climb over a large boulder to get a better view of the land, but the effort caused her ankle to buckle. She collapsed onto the warm rock, tears pricking her eyes, frustration and fear mingling in her chest. "What if no one comes?" she whispered to herself. "What if I cannot find my way back?" Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a movement caught her eye. A shadow flickered near the canyon's edge, and Nayeli squinted, trying to make sense of it. At first, she thought it was a trick of the sunlight, but then she saw it again, a figure emerging from the rocky terrain. It was a horse. Its coat shone a deep chestnut color, glinting like polished wood under the sunlight. The animal's mane rippled with the wind, and its eyes, dark, intelligent, and full of curiosity, seemed to look directly at her. Nayeli's heart skipped a beat. The horse did not approach quickly. It stopped a few meters away, as if studying her, assessing whether she was a threat. Nayeli stayed still, careful not to scare it away. She remembered the stories her grandmother used to tell about the spirits of the desert taking the form of animals to guide those who were lost. Could this horse be such a spirit? She felt a strange mix of fear and hope. Slowly she extended a hand toward the animal, her fingers trembling. The horse lowered its head slightly, sniffing the air between them. Then, as if deciding that she meant no harm, it took a tentative step closer. Days passed in a blur as Nayeli and the horse began a silent dance of trust. She named it Tawa, meaning sun, for the warmth it seemed to bring into her life at a time when hope was scarce. Tawa did not speak, of course, but its actions were filled with wisdom. When Nayeli tried to stand and take a few steps, Tawa would nudge her gently, encouraging her to move without putting too much weight on her injured ankle. At night, when the temperature dropped and the desert grew cold and quiet, Tawa would rest nearby, a comforting presence that made Nayeli feel less alone. The horse guided her towards small patches of water and shaded areas where she could rest. Nayeli learned to watch Tawa carefully, reading its behavior to anticipate what lay ahead. If Tawa pawed the ground or turned its ears sharply, Nayeli knew to be alert for danger or difficult terrain. The bond between them grew quickly, built not through words but through shared experience, and the quiet understanding that survival depended on trust. One morning, as the sun painted the desert in shades of gold and orange, Nayeli tried walking again, this time leaning on a makeshift cane she had fashioned from a sturdy branch. Each step was painful, but Tawa stayed at her side, nudging her forward when she faltered. After hours of slow movement, they reached a small canyon spring. Water bubbled up from the rocks, clear and fresh, a miracle in the harsh landscape. Nayeli knelt to drink, the cool water soothing her parched throat. She splashed some onto Tawa's muzzle, and the horse drank gratefully. It was a simple act, but in that moment, Nayeli felt a profound connection to life itself, a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, hope could emerge. As days turned into a week, Nayeli's ankle slowly healed. She discovered edible plants nearby and even managed to catch a small rabbit for food, always guided by Tawa's instincts. The horse seemed to understand the desert in ways she never could, moving confidently through rocky paths and warning her of hidden dangers. Nayeli realized that she was not just surviving. She was learning, growing stronger with each passing day. Through the quiet, endless desert, Nayeli reflected on her life before the accident. She thought of her family, her village, and the lessons she had learned from her elders. She understood now that survival was not only about strength or skill, it was also about trust, patience, and the ability to listen to the world around her. Tawa had become her teacher in ways she could never have imagined. Finally, on a bright morning, Nayeli knew it was time to try to return to her people. With Tawa by her side, she began the journey back. Each step was still cautious, each movement measured, but she walked with newfound confidence. The desert no longer seemed like a trap. It was a teacher, and Tawa was her guide. She realized that this was more than just an encounter with a wild horse. It was the beginning of a bond that could change her life forever. By the time the village appeared in the distance, Nayeli felt a mixture of relief and gratitude. She turned to Tawa, stroking its mane gently. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Tawa nuzzled her hand in response, as if acknowledging the words. Nayeli understood that this was only the start of a journey, one that would lead to new challenges, discoveries, and perhaps even joy she had never imagined. And so, in the vast, unforgiving desert, a lost and injured woman found her companion, her protector, and unknowingly, the spark that would ignite a story of courage, survival, and the unbreakable bond between human and horse. The days ahead promised adventure, struggle, and growth. But for now, Nayeli simply basked in the quiet wonder of having found a friend in the desert, a friend who had appeared when she needed it most. After days of traveling through the harsh desert, Nayeli felt her strength returning. Her ankle, though still tender, had healed enough to allow her to walk with more confidence. Tawa, the chestnut horse who had saved her life, remained by her side, a constant companion and guardian. Each morning, as the sun painted the desert sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Nayeli would wake, stretch carefully, and check on Tawa. She would brush the horse's coat with her hands, feeling the warmth and smoothness of its skin, and whisper words of gratitude. The bond between them had grown stronger than she could have imagined. One particular morning, Nayeli woke to the soft rustle of desert wind and a sky dotted with clouds that promised rain. She stretched her legs carefully, feeling the ache that remained in her ankle. Today, she decided, they would try to move toward the nearby canyon that her grandmother had mentioned in stories, a hidden water source that few travelers ever discovered. Tawa shifted its weight, pawing at the ground and flicking its ears as if understanding her plan. Nayeli smiled, realizing how much she had come to rely on the horse's instincts. The journey was slow. Every step had to be measured, and the rocky desert terrain made it easy to slip or twist an ankle again. But Tawa guided her carefully, walking slightly ahead and turning back often to check on her. The horse would nudge her gently if she faltered or seemed uncertain. Naeli marveled at the animal's intelligence, realizing that Tawa was not just a horse, but a partner in her survival. She began to notice subtle signs that the horse used to communicate: ear flicks, tail swishes, and the way it positioned its body. Slowly, she began to understand these signals and respond in kind. By midday, the desert heat pressed down upon them. The sun's rays reflected off the rocky surfaces, and the air shimmered with the intense warmth. Naeli found a small shaded area under a cluster of boulders and decided it was time to rest. She carefully lowered herself to the ground, massaging her ankle gently to ease the stiffness. Tawa settled nearby, lowering its head to drink from a small puddle that had formed from the morning dew. Naeli watched the horse carefully, feeling a deep sense of peace. Despite the danger and isolation of the desert, she was no longer alone. She had Tawa. As she rested, Naeli thought back to her life before the accident. She remembered the stories her grandmother told her about courage, survival, and respect for the natural world. Those lessons, which had seemed abstract and distant when she was a child, now made perfect sense. The desert demanded attention, patience, and understanding. Every rock, every plant, and every movement of the wind held meaning, and Tawa had become her teacher in ways she could never have anticipated. The horse seemed to understand the desert instinctively, moving with confidence and caution in equal measure. When Naeli felt strong enough, she began to move again, guided by Tawa's careful steps. As they traveled, she began to notice other signs of life in the desert: small lizards darting across the sand, birds gliding overhead, and the distant sound of water trickling through rocks. She realized that even in a place that seemed harsh and unforgiving, life thrived in hidden ways. And Tawa seemed to sense these hidden signs, moving toward water and food sources that she would never have found on her own. By late afternoon, the pair came upon a narrow canyon path. The walls rose high on either side, casting shadows that made the air cooler and the path easier to navigate. Naeli's heart lifted with relief. She could hear the faint sound of flowing water growing louder with each step. Tawa quickened its pace slightly, as if eager to reach the source. Naeli followed, feeling a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. Could this be the hidden spring her grandmother had spoken of? She dared to hope. Finally, after careful navigation, they reached the spring. Water gurgled over smooth rocks, clear and refreshing. Naeli knelt at the edge, cupping her hands to drink, and felt a wave of relief wash over her. She splashed some water onto Tawa's muzzle, and the horse drank eagerly. Naeli laughed softly, a sound of pure joy. For the first time in days, she felt a deep sense of triumph and gratitude. They had made it. Together, they had survived the harsh desert and found life-sustaining water. Over the next several days, Naeli and Tawa established a routine around the spring. Naeli began to gather edible plants, learning which ones were safe to eat and which were not. She caught small animals for food, using the skills she had learned in her village. Tawa would assist in subtle ways, guiding her toward areas with edible plants or signaling danger when predators approached. The horse's presence allowed Naeli to regain not only her physical strength but also her confidence. She no longer felt helpless or alone. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Naeli sat by the spring, her legs stretched out in the cool sand. Tawa stood nearby, its head lowered in contentment. She reached out to stroke its mane, feeling the soft, warm strands slip through her fingers. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice full of gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Tawa nudged her gently, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared. Naeli realized that this relationship was more than survival. It was a connection built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. Days turned into a week, and Naeli's ankle healed fully. She began walking longer distances with Tawa, exploring the surrounding desert. Each journey revealed new wonders: the way sunlight reflected off the rocks, the patterns of the desert plants, and the hidden trails used by wildlife. Nayeli felt a profound sense of harmony with the world around her. She understood now that survival was not simply about enduring hardship. It was about observing, learning, and working in partnership with the world. And Tawa was her perfect guide. During one of their excursions, Nayeli noticed something unusual. Tawa, usually calm and patient, seemed particularly alert, sniffing the air and stamping its hooves. Nayeli followed its lead and discovered a small cave hidden behind a thicket of rocks. Inside there was shade, a small pool of water and traces of plants and herbs. Nayeli realized that this could be a safe resting place for them during the hottest parts of the day. She felt a surge of gratitude for Tawa's instincts, which had once again guided her to safety. As the days continued, Nayeli began to feel a deeper connection not only to Tawa but also to herself. She had faced fear, pain, and isolation, yet she had survived. She had learned to trust, to observe, and to act with patience. The desert, which had seemed cruel and unforgiving at first, had become a place of learning, growth, and discovery. Nayeli understood that she was no longer just a visitor in this land. She was a part of it, and Tawa was her companion on this journey of transformation. One morning, as they prepared to move to a new area in search of more food and water, Nayeli paused to watch Tawa. The horse's muscles rippled beneath its coat, its eyes bright with intelligence, and its movements graceful and confident. Nayeli felt a sense of awe and respect. She realized that Tawa was more than a helper or a savior. This horse was a teacher, a friend, and a guide. Together, they had survived the desert, but more importantly, they had formed a bond that could not be broken. As they set off toward the canyon's edge, Nayeli felt a sense of hope for the future. The desert no longer seemed like a place of fear and isolation. With Tawa by her side, she felt prepared to face any challenge that came her way. She knew that the journey ahead would not always be easy, but she also knew that they could face it together. And in that knowledge, she found a quiet joy, a joy born of survival, trust, and the remarkable connection between a human and a horse who had come into her life at exactly the right moment. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson, Nayeli and Tawa had settled into their new resting place. Nayeli built a small fire and cooked a simple meal, sharing what she could with her companion. Tawa rested nearby, watching her with attentive eyes. Nayeli stroked its mane and whispered once more, "You are my friend, my guide, and my protector. I will never forget you." The horse nudged her hand, a gentle, reassuring touch. Nayeli smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart that had nothing to do with the desert sun. In that quiet moment, Nayeli understood something profound. She had been lost, injured, and alone, but through the kindness and intelligence of Tawa, she had not only survived but found a companion who would change her life forever. The desert, once a place of fear, had become a place of discovery, trust, and hope. And as night fell and the stars emerged, sparkling like diamonds in the clear desert sky, Nayeli felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she and Tawa were no longer alone, and that their journey together was only just beginning. The days turned into weeks, and Nayeli and Tawa had grown closer than ever. The bond between the woman and the horse was no longer just about survival. It had become a deep friendship, a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. Nayeli had learned to read Tawa's movements, gestures, and even subtle expressions. She could sense when the horse was alert to danger, or when it had found something important, like fresh water or edible plants. In return, Tawa seemed to sense her moods, comforting her when she felt weary and sharing in her small victories when the desert provided a bounty. One bright morning, Nayeli noticed that Tawa was acting differently. The horse's steps were lighter, and it often paused to look around, ears twitching at every sound. Nayeli studied Tawa carefully, sensing that something important was about to happen. She remembered stories from her grandmother about the cycles of nature, about how animals sometimes had gifts and surprises to share with those who treated them with respect. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, as if the desert itself were holding its breath. Days passed, and Tawa's unusual behavior continued. Nayeli began to notice subtle changes in the horse. Its belly seemed rounder and its movements more deliberate, careful. One evening, as the sky turned a soft pink and the shadows grew long, Nayeli realized what was happening. Tawa was pregnant. A sense of wonder and awe filled her. She had always known this horse was extraordinary, but now she understood that their bond had created something new, a life that would carry the story of their partnership forward. Nayeli prepared a safe and quiet space for Tawa near the spring where they had stayed for weeks. She gathered soft grass, large leaves and blankets she had made from cloth scraps to create a bed for the horse. She spent her days caring for Tawa, feeding her, brushing her coat, and talking to her in soft, gentle tones. The horse seemed to understand every word, nuzzling Nayeli's hand as if thanking her for the care and love she provided. In this quiet life, the two companions grew stronger, not only physically but also emotionally, forming a family of sorts in the heart of the desert. As the days went by, Nayeli began to notice changes in the foal growing within Tawa. She could see the horse shifting its weight, occasionally pawing the ground as if preparing for the arrival. Nayeli felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. She had survived the desert with Tawa, but now, a new life depended on them both. She studied the behavior of other horses she had seen in her village, remembering how the mothers would protect their young and how they would teach them to survive. Nayeli realized that she had to be ready, to protect and guide this new life as Tawa had protected and guided her. One night under a sky filled with countless stars, Nayeli sat beside Tawa and spoke softly. "You have given me so much, Tawa," she whispered, "and now a new life will come from you. We will take care of it together." Tawa rested her head against Nayeli's shoulder, a gesture that spoke of trust, comfort, and love. Nayeli felt her heart swell with a sense of purpose. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a caretaker, a guardian of a life that promised to change their world forever. The days grew warmer as spring approached, and Nayeli continued to prepare for the birth. She foraged for additional food, bringing fresh grasses, roots, and berries for Tawa, ensuring that the horse had all the nourishment needed. She watched Tawa carefully, noting every sign of labor and every movement that indicated the foal was ready. Nayeli's heart would race with each step Tawa took, each pawing of the ground and each restless shift in position. The desert, which had once seemed harsh and unforgiving, now became a witness to one of the most miraculous events of her life. Finally, the moment arrived. Tawa lay down in the soft bedding Nayeli had prepared, breathing heavily but steadily. Nayeli stayed close, offering quiet encouragement, speaking softly to calm both the horse and herself. Hours passed, and with patient guidance and gentle care, a small, wet, trembling foal entered the world. Nayeli gasped as she watched the foal struggle to stand, its legs shaky but determined. Tawa nuzzled the young one, guiding it, encouraging it to rise. Nayeli felt tears fill her eyes. This tiny creature, born of trust, care, and the bond between them, was a new beginning, a life that carried the promise of adventure, growth, and hope. The foal was small, with a glossy coat that shone in the sunlight and eyes bright with curiosity. Nayeli named it Shilla, meaning brave one. It was an appropriate name, for even in those first moments, the foal showed signs of courage and strength. Nayeli and Tawa worked together to guide Shilla, teaching the young horse how to stand, walk, and eventually run. Nayeli marveled at how quickly Shilla learned, mimicking Tawa's movements and showing an intelligence that reminded her of the horse who had saved her life. As weeks passed, Nayeli, Tawa, and Shilla became inseparable. Each day was filled with exploration and learning. Nayeli taught Sheila to recognize edible plants, to find water, and to be cautious of the desert's hidden dangers. She also began to train the young horse to respond to her commands, using gentle words and careful gestures. Tawa watched closely, guiding her foal with patience and wisdom, and Nayeli felt a deep sense of pride in the new life that had come from their partnership. The presence of Sheila changed everything for Nayeli. Where once she had only worried about survival, she now had a sense of joy, purpose, and responsibility. She realized that this new life had the potential to change their destinies forever. The foal represented the future, a connection between the past struggles and the hope of what was yet to come. Nayeli often whispered to Sheila, "You are brave and you will grow strong, but never forget the bond we share, for it is the greatest gift in the world." One day, as they traveled to a nearby canyon to explore and find fresh water, Nayeli noticed how Sheila followed Tawa's movements with precision, almost as if understanding every step before it happened. The young horse's intelligence was remarkable, and Nayeli felt a mixture of awe and wonder. She realized that Sheila was not just a foal. It was a bridge between her past and future, a creature that carried the strength and wisdom of Tawa, along with a spark of new life and possibility. The bond between the three grew stronger with each passing day. Nayeli felt a deep gratitude for Tawa, whose courage and intelligence had saved her life, and for Sheila, whose birth had brought a sense of purpose and hope. Together, they formed a family, navigating the desert with trust, care, and respect for each other. Nayeli often thought about how unlikely it was that a simple encounter with a horse could change her life so profoundly. Yet every day, she saw the proof in the eyes of Tawa and Sheila. One evening, as the sun set and the desert sky blazed with colors of gold, pink, and purple, Nayeli sat with Tawa and Sheila near the spring. She reflected on everything that had happened since her accident, the fear, the pain, the survival, and now the joy of new life. She realized that the desert, with all its challenges, had given her something extraordinary, a chance to form a bond that went beyond survival, a connection that would influence her destiny in ways she could never have imagined. Nayeli smiled as she watched Sheila take tentative steps, Tawa guiding her young foal with patience and care. She felt a profound sense of hope. This was more than just the birth of a horse. It was a symbol of courage, trust, and the extraordinary ways life could change when one had faith and perseverance. Nayeli whispered softly to Tawa, "You brought me here, and now we have Sheila. Together we can face anything." Tawa nuzzled her hand gently, a gesture that spoke of understanding, loyalty, and love. In that quiet desert evening, surrounded by the soft sounds of flowing water and the gentle movements of her two companions, Nayeli felt a sense of peace she had never known. The hardships of the past seemed distant, replaced by the beauty of life, the wonder of new beginnings, and the deep, unbreakable bond between a woman, a horse, and a foal. She knew that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but she also knew that they would face them together, stronger and braver than ever before. And so, in the heart of the desert, under the endless sky, Nayeli, Tawa, and Sheila began a new chapter of their lives. One born of survival, strengthened by trust, and full of hope, a chapter that would eventually intertwine with other lives, changing destinies in ways that no one could yet imagine. The foal, Sheila, represented the promise of the future, a bridge between the past struggles and the joys yet to come. Nayeli's heart was full, and her spirit soared, knowing that life had given her a second chance, and that with Tawa and Sheila by her side, anything was possible. Weeks turned into months, and Nayeli's life with Tawa and Sheila had become a rhythm of companionship, learning, and growth. Sheila had grown strong and curious, exploring the desert with the careful guidance of both Nayeli and Tawa. The foal's intelligence was remarkable, its energy endless, and its curiosity boundless. Naeli spent each day teaching Sheila, showing the young horse how to navigate the desert safely, find fresh water, and avoid dangerous cliffs. Tawa watched patiently, offering gentle nudges and guidance, ensuring that the young foal learned quickly without ever feeling fear or pressure. One day, while exploring a distant canyon in search of a new water source, Naeli noticed signs of human presence, footprints in the sand, and the faint smoke rising in the distance. Her heart quickened with curiosity and caution. The Apache people often traveled these lands, and meeting another person in this vast desert could bring help, information, or connection. Naeli considered whether she should approach or wait to be noticed. She decided to watch quietly, letting Tawa and Sheila move slowly, their hooves soft on the desert floor. Through the shimmering heat, a young man appeared. His clothing marked him as a scout from a neighboring Apache settlement. Naeli had heard stories of these scouts, brave, skilled, and often sent to explore distant lands, report on conditions, and sometimes find resources for their people. The young man carried a long staff and a small pack, moving carefully but confidently. Naeli felt her heart race. She knew this could be an important encounter, but she also remembered the lessons of caution she had learned in the desert. She did not call out immediately. Instead, she remained hidden behind a cluster of rocks, observing the stranger. Tawa, sensing her attention, shifted slightly, ears flicking toward the man. Naeli held her breath, aware that any sudden movement could startle both the man and the horses. To her relief, the young scout paused, scanning the horizon, and then began moving in her direction, following the faint trail of the spring. Naeli realized that he was likely seeking water for himself or his small party. She decided it was time to make herself known, but she needed to do it carefully to avoid frightening him. Stepping forward slowly, she called out softly, "Hello, I am Naeli." The man froze, surprise evident on his face, but his expression quickly softened when he noticed Tawa and Sheila beside her. "I am Tayan," he said, bowing slightly in respect. His voice was calm, gentle, and confident. Naeli noticed a spark of curiosity and intelligence in his eyes, qualities that reminded her of Tawa. Tayan approached cautiously, ensuring not to startle the horses. He seemed to understand their behavior instinctively, speaking softly and moving slowly. The initial moments of meeting were filled with caution, but soon the tension eased. Naeli explained her journey, how she had been injured and lost in the desert, and how Tawa had saved her life. Tayan listened intently, his respect for her evident. He asked questions about the terrain, the water sources, and the challenges she had faced. Naeli answered honestly, sharing her experiences with Tawa and Sheila as witnesses to her story. She could see that Tayan was not just a scout, but someone who valued life, courage, and the bonds between humans and animals. Over the next several days, Tayan stayed with Naeli, learning from her and observing the unique relationship between her, Tawa, and Sheila. He was impressed by the intelligence of both horses and by Naeli's skill in navigating the desert. Together, they explored new paths, discovering hidden springs, shaded valleys, and safe routes through rocky cliffs. Naeli felt a mixture of admiration and gratitude for Tayan. His knowledge of the desert complemented her own experiences, creating a partnership built on mutual respect. As they traveled together, Naeli noticed how Tayan treated the horses. He was careful, gentle, and observant, never rushing Sheila or pushing Tawa beyond her comfort. Naeli realized that he understood the delicate balance of trust and care needed when working with animals. Tayan also shared stories of his life in the neighboring settlement, of the customs, traditions, and lessons passed down through generations. Naeli listened, learning from him just as Sheila learned from her and Tawa. A deep connection began to grow, built not on words alone but on shared experience, respect, and understanding. One afternoon, as the sun began to dip low in the sky, Tayan suggested they rest near a hidden spring he had discovered in his travels. Nayeli agreed, grateful for the knowledge and companionship he offered. As they settled, Tayan helped Nayeli gather firewood and prepare a small meal. They spoke quietly, sharing thoughts about the desert, the animals, and the lives they had led before meeting each other. Nayeli felt a sense of warmth and trust growing, a feeling she had not experienced in a long time. The desert, once a place of isolation, was now filled with friendship, learning, and the potential for deeper bonds. Tawa and Sheila remained close by, their presence a constant reminder of the power of trust and loyalty. Sheila, growing bolder each day, often followed Tayan's movements with curiosity, learning from his careful gestures and quiet commands. Nayeli marveled at how her life had changed, from being lost and injured to being part of a small, connected group navigating the desert together. It was a new chapter, one filled with hope, discovery, and the intertwining of destinies. As days turned into weeks, Nayeli and Tayan became inseparable companions, each learning from the other. They traveled together, exploring the vast desert, discovering hidden valleys and springs, and sharing knowledge about survival, animals, and the land itself. Sheila grew stronger, learning not only from Tawa and Nayeli but also from Tayan's careful guidance. The young foal's courage and intelligence became a symbol of their collective strength, a living reminder of the power of trust, love, and care. One day, while navigating a particularly steep canyon, Nayeli noticed a sudden movement among the rocks, a small herd of deer grazing peacefully. Tawa's ears twitched, Sheila paused mid-step, and Nayeli instinctively raised her hand, signaling everyone to stay calm. Tayan nodded in understanding. Together, they observed quietly, moving slowly to avoid startling the animals. Nayeli felt a profound sense of connection to the desert and its inhabitants. The moment reminded her that the land, the animals, and the people were all part of a delicate balance that required respect, patience, and care. The desert continued to teach them lessons each day. Storms would roll in unexpectedly, sudden winds would whip the sand, and temperatures would fluctuate dramatically between day and night. Yet through every challenge, Nayeli, Tawa, Sheila, and Tayan learned to adapt, support one another, and face adversity together. Each day strengthened their bonds, and Nayeli realized that Tayan had become more than a companion. He had become a partner in both survival and life, someone who shared her respect for the land, the animals, and the quiet, unseen forces that guided their paths. One evening, under a sky painted with the colors of sunset, Nayeli watched Tayan and Sheila interacting. Tayan had guided the young horse over a rocky path, speaking softly and offering encouragement. Sheila, now confident and strong, responded with curiosity and trust. Nayeli felt a sense of awe. She realized that the desert had not only healed her and Tawa, but had also brought Tayan into her life, intertwining their destinies in ways she could never have predicted. The journey that began with fear and injury had grown into a story of trust, connection, and shared purpose. As they sat together that night, the fire casting warm light across the rocks, Nayeli reflected on how far they had come. She remembered the days when she had been alone, injured, and unsure if she would survive. Now, she was surrounded by friendship, loyalty, and love, not just human companionship but the unwavering support of Tawa and Sheila. The bond they shared was extraordinary, a reminder that life often brings unexpected gifts to those who are patient, kind, and brave. In the days that followed, Nayeli, Tayan, Tawa, and Sheila continued to explore, learn, and grow together. They discovered hidden valleys rich with vegetation, secret springs teeming with life, and safe routes through the desert that had once seemed impossible to navigate. Each adventure strengthened their trust and deepened the bonds between them. Nayeli realized that Tayan had not only entered her life as a companion, but as someone who would share her journey, her challenges, and her joys. Together, They were stronger, braver, and ready to face whatever the future held. And so, in the heart of the desert, two human lives and two extraordinary horses became a single, united force. Their destinies, once separate and uncertain, had intertwined through trust, courage, and the quiet wisdom of the desert. Naeli often looked at Tawin and Shilla with a sense of gratitude and wonder, knowing that the bonds they had formed would shape their lives forever. The desert, which had once seemed harsh and unforgiving, had become a place of connection, hope, and the promise of a future filled with shared purpose. The story of Naeli, Tawa, Shilla, and Tayan was still unfolding, and though the challenges of the desert were far from over, they faced them together. The young horse, the brave scout, the rescued woman, and the wise mare had all come together in a way that none could have predicted, proving that trust, courage, and love could change the course of destinies. And in that vast, endless desert, filled with beauty, danger, and wonder, a new chapter of life had begun, one that would continue to inspire and guide them for years to come.